day, everybody. Evening. Welcome. We have a very special guest.
We do.
And this guest is he's a local actor, performed in theatre, TV, and his name is Lyndon. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Lyndon.
It's like we're on a game show, Lyndon.
What's your name and where do you come from?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I started doing theatre when I was at school, doing drama, and I got involved with various groups. One of them performed at the theatre, and that really got me hooked. And since then, I've done all sorts. I've done TV work. I've performed in various theatres up and down the country, mainly around Lincoln and Nottingham and Newark. Mainly musicals as well, but I've done other stuff. Yeah. But it was a bug from school, really.
Yeah, so obviously coming into your adult life, we know you mutually through construction, don't we? Which is obviously your main job. Like, at what point did you go into construction from school, or did you try and pursue acting full time, or?
No, well, the thing is what they say about acting. I mean, certainly nowadays there are so many people trying to get into to being famous. It's not necessarily acting, but they just want to be famous, and acting comes as part of that. That they say that you really need something behind you that you can sort of fall back into because most actors aren't working. There's only about 2% of professional actors in work at any one time. Although people see lots of actors on TV and stuff, there's so many. I mean, I've got so many friends that have been down to London to pursue an acting career, and you never hear of them again. So it's a difficult career. So I thought I would get a trade, do something, joinery, as it turned out, which I didn't really know what that meant when I first started. But as it turned out, I quite enjoyed it. And then I thought, on the back of the joinery, I'll sort of, if any acting work comes along, or I was getting heavily involved with the amateurs in Lincoln, doing the musicals at the theatre, just do it as a pastime, really. But from that, other things have developed. Like I did TV. I got an agent down in Southend, and I used to go down to London for various bits of TV work that was paid, obviously. And from that, I've done directing shows, which you get paid for. And so I wouldn't say I'm professional by any stretch of the imagination, but over the years, I've done bits of paid work, which, it's nice to get appreciated, really.
Yeah, and a lot of experience in it as well,
Yeah, I've done a lot of shows as well over the years, Yeah. I tried to count up, but, I mean, there was so many. I think I've done over 70 shows, which is quite a lot, really, isn't it?
That is a lot. Do you actually think with acting, it's about being in the right place at the right time to be spotted?
Some of it is,
having the right gig.
Some of it certainly is. I mean, there are various stories about people in Lincoln. There's a girl who's in Mamma Mia at the moment, and in London, and she's from Lincoln, Lucy May Barker, and her dad sent a DVD of her down to an agent in London, just wanting to do some summer work. And from that, she got an audition for one show, did really well, got the part, and her career's never stopped. And she didn't go to drama school or anything. She just got lucky. And she was talented as well, enormously talented. But part of it is, look, it's getting the right agent a lot of the time. Yeah. Certainly once you're down in London or Manchester or somewhere like that, if you can get the right agent, they can get you the right auditions. And then off the back of that, then there's a good chance that you can...
I suppose it's the same as any profession. Like you are either going to be saying that story where you've just made it, you've got lucky, and be in the right place at the right time, or you've put a shitload of graft into it, and you've put your life and your soul into it. So, which happens as well. You're eventually, something's going to happen to you if you're putting your whole life into it. Same as
absolutely. There's another guy I used to perform with, Chris. He a lovely lad, and there was an apprenticeship coming up as a joiner. Actually, this is going back years now. And I said, why don't you come and work with me? And he's like, no, mate, I want to be an actor. And I thought, I know, but what are the chances? And sure enough, he went down to London and he pursued it, and he has. He's done. I think the last thing he did was Carmen at the Coliseum in London, which is a big gig, you know. And then when he's not doing that, he's a dresser on West End shows as well. So, but that was the only thing that he ever wanted to do. He wasn't interested in anything else. Whereas me, I like my home comforts too much, I think, and I never really wanted to pursue it and live in digs down in London, you know, not really knowing anybody, with no money, living on sandwiches all week. You know, that was never for me. So that's why I never pursued it, maybe the way that I could have done. But and there was a chance there, you know, I could have pursued it, but I've just, you know, I've liked my home comforts too much.
It's still your passion. It's something that you still taking in, and quite a lot of your spare time to as well. So
oh yeah, I mean, when you're doing a show, when you're rehearsing a show, I mean, how it used to work with some of the shows I used to do in Lincoln, we used to like do one rehearsal a week for 3 months beforehand, just singing, getting to know the harmonies and the songs for the show. Because like I say, most of the things I've done are musicals. So you used to have, for maybe 3 months, do singing one night a week, which was great because it was a great social thing. It's not just about the show, it's also about the social side. Like anything, whether you go, I don't know,
boxing gym,
to a photography club, or anything like that. It's part of the social side. Going to the pub afterwards, your friends are all involved. So you go and have singing for maybe 3 months, and then the last 6 or 7 weeks, then you start putting the dance routines together and start putting the acting and all that side of it together. And so it becomes quite intense. Those especially if you're playing the lead role. I mean, I was working on the university, the accommodation blocks on there, working on the roofs in the day, and then rehearsing at night. And I was playing Henry Higgins in My Fair Lady, which is a massive role, massive. Pages and pages of dialogue. And I was working in the day and then doing that at night. And the time we got to the show, I was so tired because you're worn out.
That's something I wanted to touch on, like squeezing that sort of life into your life of being a joiner and construction. I can imagine me trying to get into some sort of role. I'll be singing, I'll be talking in theatre at work. You know, I'd almost be in character at work. I wouldn't be able to leave it alone.
Well, it can get you a little bit like that, especially if you're doing. I mean, I know when the most recent part that I've done, or big role that I've done, was The King in The King and I. That was 2 years ago at the theatre in Lincoln.
I remember you telling me about that.
Yeah, and some of the lines, I don't know, Bev might say something and the line will just come out your mouth. Do you know what I mean? Because you're trying to learn the lines and they just fall out of your mouth. You don't really mean them to. It's just, you know, it's so uppermost in your mind that what you're trying to remember and the lines, because it takes me forever to learn lines. Some people they just go in. For me, it takes forever. But yeah, it's really intense when you're doing a show. You know, you can't do it half-hearted, especially if you want to make a good job of it. Which you know, whether it be joinery or acting or whatever it is, I try and do the best I can. So you know, it is pretty intense.
Whether it's rehearsing or you're actually before the show, do you actually try and get in character straight away, just so you're ready, you're primed, you know, like most singers sort of warm up their vocals before they go on stage?
I think for me, that never really happens until the process is, like I said, you have maybe 3 months of singing, and then you'll start what they call blocking the show. So that's basically saying you come on from stage right, you come on from stage left, you cross over to him, say this particular line, then maybe walk away, go and fetch a cigarette, something like that. So that's just working the blocked movements out, and then you make your notes, you go away, you look at them, study them at lunchtime at work, which is why I spend a lot of time at lunchtimes in my van on my own, because I'm looking at lines, trying to learn lines and moves and things. But in the last maybe week, maybe 2 weeks, you start to run it. Then you start maybe to run Act 1, then run Act 2, then run the show. And it's only really once you start doing that, and you're not got the script in your hand, that's when you can really start to get into sort of the character side of things. As far as I'm concerned, I mean, everybody's different, but that's the way it is for me. It's not until I can get the script down and really start things to flow that you really get into it. So it's only the last week or two, really.
So you're talking to the lads on site and you're flamboyant, like.
Well, you see, this is the funny thing. You see, over the years, I mean, you can imagine. You know what it's like on building sites. And I've worked on building sites since I was 19. I've been, they've ripped the piss out. I mean, no end. I
wanted to ask you this. Like, I know it's a weird subject, probably for a lot of people in acting, but
it is. Yeah. They've really ripped. When I worked for Limpave years ago, I tended to see the same lads because it was the same team for that worked for Limpave, and they all knew what I did. So in the end, the funny side of it sort of wore off because they'd said all the stupid comments, and so it's like, oh, yeah, you've said that before. It's not funny anymore. But yeah, I've often been asked to say, come on then, give us a bit of Shakespeare then. Come on then, give us a bit. And they like want you to start performing in the teal at lunchtime or something like that.
I think this
I've never done it. I've never ever done it. Yeah. There was one lad I used to work with. He's a roofer. He's a great lad as well. And I taught him. I was doing Antony and Cleopatra with the Lincoln Shakespeare Company, and I was playing a part called Lepidus, and I had this speech, and I taught this roofing lad. This speech from Antony and Cleopatra, and he used to stand on the roofs reciting this bit of Shakespeare on the roof. Brilliant. And funnily enough, I saw him about 3 or 4 weeks ago. First time I've seen him in about 7 or 8 years, and he can still remember a little bit of it. Honestly, brilliant. But I've been teased about it for years and years and years. And I met a bricklayer once, and he was into musicals, and we had quite a conversation because he used to get the piss taken out of him as well. But I don't really tell people now. I just get on with it and do it.
I think that's where you've got to kind of know yourself as well. I know it sounds trivial and menial, but even just me and Mark and I doing this podcast, there's a lot of people in our world, in the world of construction, that are very closed-minded.
Absolutely.
And they can't really see past their little world. So I think as long as you know yourself and you're happy, and you because at the end of the day, the opinion of a few people around you doesn't matter. Yeah.
It doesn't matter as long as you enjoy what you're doing. What did you have any of these lads? All the lads that you worked with that knew you did this. Did any of them ever come see you perform?
Yeah, they did actually. Yeah, over the years, I did a play called Bouncers, written by John Godber. Brilliant play. Wow. It's set in the 80s, and it's basically about it. There's only 4 people in it. There's 4 lads in it, and they play the 4 bouncers, nightclub bouncers. They play the 4 girls going out. They play the 4 lads going out, and then they play the other characters that they meet along the way. Like they go to the barbers to get their hair, their hair cut. The girls go to the hairdressers, and the 4 lads play all the parts in it. So you play the girls and everything. It's brilliant. It's hysterically funny. Yeah. Now I knew when we were doing this, because I'd seen it a couple of times before I ever performed it. I knew that they would like it. So I really encouraged the lads who I was working with at the time. This is going back to Limpave days. I really encouraged them to come, and quite a few of them did. And one guy, it was a lad who taught me actually when I was an apprentice. He said, if I'd known it was going to be that funny, I'd have brought my son along because he'd have loved it. Yeah. And honestly, it's so funny. But I encouraged them to come and see that because I knew they would like it. Whereas if I'm doing La Cage aux Folles, the musical or something, I don't really encourage lads on building sites to come and see me wandering around with ostrich feathers and things like that. It's just not cool, is it?
No, but I think most people would actually enjoy it. You know what I mean?
I think they would. Yeah. There's another lad, again, I keep saying about various people I've met along the way, but they're all examples of another guy. He came to see me in a show and he loved it. And that got him, and his wife had been trying to get him down to London to see a West End show in years. And that was it. He was hooked. He bumped into me in the high street, and he was like, I can't believe how good it is. He'd been to see Wicked or something like that in London, and he was blown away by it. Yeah. But that's half the battle. It's just getting people along for the first time, because it's never what they expect. Yeah. And I think certainly at an amateur level, the shows that we put on, I mean, some of the shows that I've done in Nottingham, Nottingham amateurs, the budget's like £80,000 for a week.
Fantastic, yeah.
Well, that's
it's not village hall stuff. It's a lot of money spent on it.
Does that really affect the play and the kind of caliber of actors and that you get in at the budget? Obviously, it affects the.
Well, it can. Well, no, not really. No, not really, because we're not getting paid. So it can affect the orchestra, because the orchestra get paid, and you can get a really good orchestra if you can throw some money at it, especially in Nottingham, because they've got a big orchestra pit in Nottingham. But no, it doesn't really affect the cast so much, because it's at an amateur level. But it can affect the costumes and the set and all that side of it. Totally, it's an expensive do.
What makes a difference? I mean, I'm a big cinema goer. I have been to see a lot of theatre, but what makes it for me with theatre is you're actually watching it live. These are real people on stage. They've got one shot of this. Literally one shot. If they get it wrong, they have to improvise. Have you ever had that situation where you've been tongue-tied, or something's gone wrong, a prop's not quite worked, or?
Yeah, often. A few examples. I mean, I mentioned that I played The King and I recently.
Yeah.
Well, I played it twice now. I did it 20 odd years ago, again at Lincoln Theatre Royal, and it was a matinee. And I skipped about a page and a half of dialogue, because what happens is you get to a point where you can't remember the line, and you have a panic attack on stage, and you think you stood there for about 2 minutes, and it's maybe about 5 seconds, but it feels like forever. You have a panic, and then you say the first line that you think it should be, rather than just taking a second to think about it. And I jumped a page and a half of dialogue, and the problem is with that, when you're playing such a key role anyway, is that it'll affect lighting cues, sound cues. And then the stage manager, he's trying to keep up with everything and give the cues so that you get to the end of Act 1 in the perfect time. And then that evening, so this had happened in the matinee, and then that evening was getting to that scene. It's quite a long scene, quite a long wordy scene at the end of Act 1 in The King and I, just between Anna and the King. And I got this it's like a big nappy almost on, and the fastening at the side went, and I had to hold it up for the rest of that scene, because otherwise it would have just fallen down. So consequently, it takes all the nerves about remembering the lines, because you know the lines, you've rehearsed them that many times. It's just once you start to really think about them, that's when you tend to muck it up. So you know the lines. So the lines just came out no problem, because you're panicking about losing your trousers, pants, or whatever they were, whatever the proper name for them are. So I've had that. I've lost lines once or twice, not as much as you'd think actually, but and then you have things that I remember being in an Aladdin pantomime years ago, and I was meant to catch the lamp, chuck the lamp up over. One of the characters chucked the lamp up over their head. I was meant to catch it, and I was too busy talking to China Rose, and it just smashed on the side. That's the end of the story of Aladdin.
There you go.
And the lamp, no lamp.
The genie's out.
Gone. So
how did you improvise that?
Well, to be honest, mate, it was that long ago, I can't remember. I mean, that was one of the first things I ever did, other than at school. But you just do. You try and work your way out of it, or somebody else will say something, because if the pressure's not on you, to work your way out of a hole, So if you're watching somebody else struggle over there, you've got the presence of mind to help them, because you're not under the pressure. You know it's not you that's gone wrong, so you've got a clear head. Whereas when the pressure's on you, that's when your head goes all foggy and you can't remember your line. Well, with me anyway. So you hope that somebody else might bail you out, really.
Yeah. So going back to some of your old colleagues and that coming to watch some of your plays, like I can only imagine, as small as it is compared to some of the plays you've done, I can imagine you feel quite proud about the lads and, you know, enjoying the shows and stuff, you know.
Yeah. I mean, a few of the lads. I mean, there was a chap, another joiner I used to work with, a lovely guy, a miner. You know, he was from the mining community, and he came to see me, and he couldn't believe it. And then from then on, he came to see me all the time I was working with him. He came to see me every year. There was him. There was another guy who's no longer with us, Carl. He used to come with his wife regularly. Yeah. And there was a few that, you know, would come quite regularly, but they tended to be the lads I work with a lot. Yeah. And then there's other guys who you wish they would come, but you know they never have come. And you put a lot of time and effort into to the rehearsing, and it don't cost you a huge amount of money necessarily. You know, it's not an expensive hobby. It's not like buying massive camera lenses and, you know, costing you thousands of pounds. It doesn't actually cost you a lot of money. It costs you a lot of time. Yeah. And you put you put a lot of time into it. Yeah, learning lines takes time. Rehearsing, yeah. So to ask somebody to just come and watch you for one night out of their life after you've put in 6 months of rehearsing, it's not a great deal. And sometimes you feel a bit gutted that, you know, somebody's not come to watch you. Yeah, well, I do. That's how I feel.
Onto the dreaded subject of COVID, obviously, like you know, now we've both spoken and stuff. I'd love to come and see one of your shows when this all blows over, if it blows over. Mark Anthony was speaking about this the other day, like, just where the hell is it going to go? Where's live theatre going to go in the future, in the near future at least? You know, can you see it? Can you see anything? Is there talk behind the scenes, or? I
don't know. I honestly don't know. It's I mean, I normally go and see, you know, several shows in London each year, and we'd booked to go and see Sunset Boulevard just before Christmas that's just gone. You know, out of lockdown, things are opening up. They opened the massive theatre at Leicester, and they were keeping everybody separated. So I don't know how many it holds, but let's say 2,000. But they were only letting something like 350 people in, and then it's all cancelled. So you pay your money, you book your tickets, and it's all cancelled. And I think that's the way it's got to go to start with. I think it'll be, you know, it'll be the big theatres opening, but only letting limited amount of people in until this is all gone. But when who knows when it's all going to go? I dread to think, but I don't think it'll be this year. I don't think anything really will happen this year. I really don't.
How long do you think it'll take to recover before people feel really comfortable? And also, did you have a project? Have you had a project on the go? Taking part in? Do you want to tell me about it?
I don't know how long it'll be until people are comfortable, because that's the thing. It's all right getting the show back on, but people have got to feel comfortable about going to sit next to lots of other people, haven't they? At the end of the day,
by the end of this crap, I feel like it'll be day one of letting us out. You know,
it will.
You'll be so sick of being sat inside. You want to go out.
Everybody will go mad, but yeah, I honestly don't know how it's all going to work. You know, nobody does. Even the big producers in London, Cameron McIntosh, Andrew Lloyd Webber, people like that. They've got no idea. They keep trying and suggesting dates that they're going to open shows. I was saying to my partner just before we came on air, and you know, I get emails from What's on Stage and things like this about musicals, and we go down to London a lot, but I don't even look at them now because I just don't know when it's all gonna.
You see,
nobody. You just don't know when it's gonna.
Yeah, something I can see from all this is obviously like one of the big talking points in theatre and acting and the performing arts was when the government kind of came out and said people should think about retraining, which is obviously a thing that you said earlier. You kind of took that path from an early age because you were a realist, weren't you? As well as you know, wanting the comforts of your life. But I feel like it'll probably set a generation of kids who love acting and love you know, love performing arts to probably put it back, because obviously their parents are going to be like, we're growing up in this world that's uncertain. Like there's not a chance you're going to put all your resources into going into something that's not even on when when all this is going on.
No, you could be right. I've never even considered that, but why would you encourage your child into this world at the minute? I mean, but then it's affected everybody. Hairdressers. We were just talking about training and things again before we came on air, talking about training as a joiner, and there aren't many apprenticeships and things about, and Bev's a hairdresser, or was, and there's not a lot of training going on, full stop. But you certainly want to encourage people into the theatre world at the minute, because everybody's going to be busting a gut to get a job at the end of once we come out of this, aren't they?
Yeah. Well, I noticed there's I'm going on to the subject of film now, and there's been a lot of big budget movies that have been made, and obviously they've been wanting to get the money back. I mean, you're talking £200 million films, and they can't get them into cinema, so they're trying to get the money back on streaming services.
Yeah.
Do you think this is the way that some live shows, theatre would go? But that's taking the element away of like you actually going, sitting in a theatre, being in the same room as these professional actors like yourself, who work hard. They've got to get it right first time.
Making that
do you think that's something that would ever work?
Well, I mean, that's what they're doing. I mean, again, this show that I was meant to be seeing before Christmas, Sunset Boulevard at Leicester Curve Theatre, they did do a live streaming of it, and you had to pay, I can't remember, £10-15, and then you got the code or whatever so you could live stream it. Now, for me, I mean, I love theatre, absolutely love theatre, as you can tell, but that's not what I want to do. I don't want to sit at home, watch it on the TV. Like you say, you want to get out and watch them singing live, because there's some amazing voices, and the spectacle of the whole thing. You don't want to watch it on TV. So if they don't sort something out before too long, I dread to think what could happen. But it's not like watching a film. Like you say, you can live. It's not the same as going to the cinema, but you're used to watching films on a TV, aren't you? That's it.
The live atmosphere, the musty smell of the seats. And
exactly.
The sensation.
You miss it all.
Yeah.
I know all the reactions that are going on, around you as well. I mean, I know for me personally, because again, I am linked to another show at the minute that we were meant to have put on last year, which we can talk about in a minute. Yeah. But they said to me, would you fancy maybe doing a Zoom play or something like that? And it's not my living. It's not like I have to make a living out of it. So it doesn't affect me in the same way, maybe. But I'm not interested in that, because it would be literally like me sat here doing it now with you watching, and this. No offence, but there's no fun in that.
Me and Matt have said this. We actually miss being sat in the studio
together.
That authentic feel, the setup, the little props we had. And it just doesn't feel the same.
I think you can't bounce. It's hard to, and I can imagine in the acting world, it's just, we're just doing a podcast. We're just talking shit for half an hour. But I can imagine trying to do a play.
I don't just do it for half an hour. I do it every day, mate. 12 hours a day.
Yeah, he does. I work with him. I know these things.
Not too bad at it myself. It must be
But no, it's not the same, and it's not. So the thing is, if we don't get on top of this epidemic at some point, then I suppose we might just have to settle for that for the next, I don't know, 3 or 4 years or whatever. It might be the best thing we can do, but at the minute, I'd rather just hang fire and hope that we come out of it at some point this year and we get back on stage and going to see live gigs and everything else. But I can't see it, and I can't see how it's going to happen. Even once we've got a vaccine, you can still pass it on and you can still catch it. Right. So it just might lessen the effects a little bit. So I don't know. Who knows? Keep fingers crossed.
I've got a question for you about going back to cinema. Obviously, you've heard of Martin Scorsese, big director, made a lot of De Niro's work with him, DiCaprio, lot of other famous actors. He was criticising cinema for being oversaturated with superhero movies, science fiction movies like the Star Wars saga. I'm going to go the Marvel and the DC, and it's taken a lot away from like a lot of their art house films, and nobody's going to go and see them sort of films like they did probably 10 years ago. You know, they'll wait for him to come on next on video on demand rather than going. People are more attracted to these popcorn sort of movies.
Yeah.
Do you what's your thoughts on that? Because me and Matt did a podcast on this not so long back about there's a lot of films that have slipped under the radar that are just fantastic that nobody's ever heard of.
I know. Well, that's the thing. I mean, some of the films that don't get me wrong. I love some of the Marvel films. Are brilliant.
Oh, I do. I'm a fan. Yeah.
But some of them, they spend that much money on them, and they're rubbish.
Yeah.
They're really not that good. And then you'll see a film like I don't know. I can't think of one off the top of my head, but I watched one. Was it Dying in Liverpool?
Maybe Mark.
Film stars die young in Liverpool or something. I know.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, brilliant. Honestly, fantastic film. Not big budget and spectacular, but it's about the story. It's the story that's key, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't matter how many big explosions and things you get. If the story's no good, it's like any theatre or whatever it is. If you can get drawn into the story, then you're onto a winner. But I think that's the thing with George Lucas when he released the first lot of Phantom Menace and all that. It was so
oversaturated.
It was putting so much time into the visual side of it. He forgot about the most important part, which is the story, in my opinion.
I agree. I totally agree, mate. I was very disappointed when I went to see that.
I think you're right. You know, a lot of the big film, the smaller films will go under the radar because, of course, once we come out of this, it'll be all like the Bond films just been moved back again, hasn't it, till October. And they'll all be released in the new Top Gun film. They'll all be released in succession.
Chucking resources at it, won't they?
Yeah, and lots of things will be missed, unfortunately, I'm sure, which is sad. But it is what it is, isn't it? You can't. But Netflix. The thing is, also nowadays, I think talking about demand TV, some of the dramas that you get on these on like Netflix and whatever, you can get so engrossed in the characters because you really form a bond with the characters because they run for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 episodes. So you really get on board with the character. Whereas some of the films nowadays, you go and see a film maybe for 2 hours, and unless the story's really there, it's a bit like hospital food. It just leaves you with no real aftertaste. Does it? Do you know what I mean? You can get so involved with these Netflix type dramas and things. Well, we have anyway, because you really.
I'm guilty of that. Definitely.
Well, we all are. Well, everybody is, but it's because you can really, draw on the characters on there because you watch them for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 hours maybe. Whereas a film, you've got 2 hours and it's split amongst lots of characters, so you never really get into the mind and the character development necessarily. That's what I think anyway. But I think that's the way things are going, isn't it?
Yeah.
Don't you think? Netflix and
definitely.
Online.
I mean, with these, I can't keep up with the streaming services because there's so many. You can't subscribe to them all. It's just impossible. No. And I think that's where they're trying to get people because one streaming service will have a show that you might want to watch when another, and you're like, where do I draw that line of paying that much money? And
even Sky and all the other like the main satellite providers, even they're on the streaming now, aren't they? We're watching a couple of things on Sky. You can't hide from them now.
No. I got Disney Plus for a month so I could watch The Mandalorian.
Awesome show. Best Star Wars ever. Best Star Wars ever.
Which? The Mandalorian?
Mandalorian, brilliant. Loved it. Have you watched it all?
Controversial.
It is, very.
Yeah.
I watched the first series.
Mm.
I watched the first series.
Yeah.
It was it didn't do it for me much.
Talking back with the character, I actually, obviously, because you sat there with that character and you're living their life for whatever 8 episodes per season. You like you say, you do form a bond with it, and you do want to see what the outcome's going to be, and
you certainly can follow the
yeah.
But I don't know, it just didn't do it for me. Although most people I've spoke to that saw it do love it, so maybe I'm missing something. Maybe it's me.
I think it
goes back to the original Star Wars roots. That's what I liked about it. That's what did it for me, definitely. But
going back,
like you say, at least you can chop in and out of these. You know, like I got Disney Plus for I think 2 months in the end, because there was something else I started watching about musicals, but bizarrely. But and then you can finish your subscription, can't you? And then move on to, Apple TV or whatever. You don't have to commit for a year or which is quite good.
I do think on a plus note, I think all this crap that's going on and everybody binge watching TV, it's only going to be good for your industry when things do go back to normal, because people are just going to be craving that experience of going out.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean? I think most people go and watch the ping pong match now, aren't they? just to get out. So
I was listening to a boy band member last week, at the back end of last week, on Radio 2, and the interviewer said, "What band would you like to go and see?" And he said, "To be honest, I would just go and see anybody at the minute." He said, "It doesn't matter whether they're a name band or not." He said, "I would just like to go and see some live music."
I'd go and watch the Cheeky Girls just for a pint of beer.
Say that again.
I'd go and watch the Cheeky Girls just for a pint of beer.
Well, exactly. But that's the thing, and I think that's the way. Like you say, it could do theatre a big favour once we do come out of it, because people will be, chomping at the bit to get out. I mean, we were meant to be doing Sweeney Todd last November, and it's scheduled again for this November. But whether it'll happen or not,
how much work did you actually put into that before it?
Well, it's what had happened was, so we'd had a couple of meetings last February, and then we started auditioning in March last year. The show, so we were auditioning. So this shows you the kind of time scale of putting on a show. So we were auditioning in March last year, March and April. We're meant to be going into April, I think. And then we were starting to rehearse in July, August, September, October. And then the show was meant to be on at the beginning of November at the Theatre Royal in Lincoln. But all we did, we auditioned half the characters. So in the end, we've cast Sweeney, we've cast Mrs. Lovett, we've cast the Beggar Woman, and we've cast Fogg. So we've cast 4 characters. And then because we'd seen other characters audition, or other people audition for other characters, but we hadn't seen everybody who wanted to audition for a particular character. So we didn't think it was fair to cast out of the people that we'd seen. So we just stopped it, and hopefully we'll pick it up again. Well, we're hoping June, July time this year.
Are these people still on board that you've already cast? Are you still?
Yes.
Them? Yeah. Good.
Yeah. As far as I'm aware, certainly the guy playing Sweeney, because I've bumped into him up in the Vale a couple of times. He's, it's his dream role. Yeah. It's a brilliant part, and he's, I don't think he would back out. He's perfect for it as well.
Sorry.
So yeah, hopefully they'll all stick with it. I'm sure they will, because it's a brilliant show. So, and then we'll just have the other cast members to audition, and then hopefully, we'll get going in July, August time.
Are the Theatre Royal still selling these sort of tickets, or can provisionally buy it for the show, or are they just off completely at the moment?
I don't know actually. I booked tickets for Sweeney Todd for it was meant to be on in November the 5th, I think, last year. and I'd booked tickets, and they've rolled my tickets over for this year. So I've got the same tickets for the same night this year. So I know they're rolling tickets over, and I was meant to be seeing some friends in Wizard of Oz in Newark in March. And again, the tickets were rolled over from last year, but that's been cancelled now. But they're rolling tickets over. But whether they're actually selling them again, I don't know.
This is what I'd like. I mean, we can definitely leave links and stuff, but this is what I'd like people listening and watching to get behind. You know, when all this does blow over, stuff like this, you know, local productions and, you know, businesses and stuff. This is what I really want to push to people, is just get behind these shows, go and see them. Like people, like we said before, people are going to be absolutely buzzing to get out anyway.
Yeah, they will. Yeah, definitely. I'm sure they will. I'm sure that I know we will. As soon as we get the opportunity to book tickets and know that it's going to go on, you know, we'll be there definitely. So
you know, we've lost the drill hall, haven't we? It's the drill hall we've lost already.
Yeah.
It'd be devastating to lose something like the Theatre Royal or something like that. You know, it'd be devastating for Lincoln.
Yeah. I know the staff's been on furlough, but you know, how long can they be dark for without you know, without getting any money in? You know, it can't just roll on for 2-3 years, can it?
No.
You know, otherwise I would think they would have to close down. I don't know enough about the financial side of it, really. But,
yeah, well, that's the lows out of the way. Like, I'd love. I'm sure people would like to know as well. What's probably your highlight of your acting career so far? What's your highlight or highlights? You've probably got a few, I guess.
Yeah, there's a few actually. One of them was a few years ago. A director friend of mine, he wanted to put on a production of South Pacific at Buxton Opera House, which is a big 2,000 seater theatre, around that. I don't know the exact amount. Anyway, and he invited. It was an amateur production, but he threw a lot of money at it. He put us all up, so we were staying in a hotel across the road. And there was people from Newcastle, Cambridge, Sheffield, Lincoln, and we all came together and put on this amazing production of South Pacific. There was a male cast of about 23 or 24, something like that, which, you know, in an amateur thing is, and a good male cast at that, is unheard of. And we'd got the Northern College of Music, full orchestra, 32-piece orchestra with a harpist.
Wow.
You know, it was fantastic. It was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Loved that. And also, I was playing one of my favourite roles, which is Luther Billis in South Pacific. I've played a few times now, so that was one of the highlights.
Up, guys.
But
we have a picture up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I sent you a picture. Yeah. Although it wasn't that production, but it's still the same character. I also did Man of La Mancha at Leeds City Varieties, which is where they used to do the good old days from, if you remember that.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Can you remember that, Mark? It's more.
I've heard of
maybe
it.
more your age.
More your time.
Unfortunately,
no.
I can remember it.
I'm very, very familiar with South Pacific, though, mate. I remember watching the musical when I was a kid. Yes.
Yeah, it's a great show. But yeah, I did Man of La Mancha at City Leeds Varieties, which was great to do a show in Leeds. And it was a show that's not done very often. And I'd got like the comedy role in that, which was great. Really enjoyed that. And also, I've done a couple of. I've done a few shows in Nottingham, and I really wanted to perform at Nottingham Theatre Royal. And the first time I performed there, I was playing Daryl in Witches of Eastwick.
Oh, wow.
So the lead,
the lead, Daryl Van.
The lead in Witches of Eastwick. Wow. So the first time I ever performed at the Theatre Royal Nottingham, which is massive theatre, beautiful, stunning, great place.
You lucky man.
Oh, it's brilliant. And with three ladies sort of thing. So it was great. It was absolutely brilliant. So and I've had a few things in Lincoln. I've done Mikado. I did years ago, which I loved. The King in The King and I, which was fantastic. You know, I've done a few things. I wouldn't say there's one thing that stands out, but they're certainly the highlights of the, you know, the various places I've done.
Who's the most famous or people you've ever worked with? Have you got a list, or is there anything that stands out?
Well, not on stage as such. I worked backstage at the theatre, because I used to work backstage at the theatre, and I did a show with Wayne Sleep, which was good. He was fantastic in that. But I was working backstage on that. Actually, on stage, no, not really. I did a show with. There was a new musical that was written, and it was part of a musicals competition, and it was at Greenwich Theatre in London. And Chris Chittle from Emmerdale,
Mr.
he came, and he was going to be part of it. And in the end, I think he decided not to bother. But he helped finance us going down there, and you know, he was what they call an angel, which is, you know, if it starts to make money, you know, you sort of get a cut of it or whatever. But he helped promote that, and you know, he came to some shows and rehearsals for that, which was good. I'm just trying to think now.
It can only be good for these productions when, you know, say these like Z-listers or whatever want to jump on it. You know, it can only be good for a production, can't it? Because they're surely going to get a bigger crowd as well, even if they're not.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, and that's the thing why you get, you know, when you see these West End shows, they'll have people from Boyzone and stuff in them, because it pulls the people in. You know, it does. It just does. You know, like when Chitty Chitty Bang Bang was on, there was all sorts of people going into that, playing the child catcher from various bands and things. And you think, really? But you know, they're bums on seats, and they cost so much money that you know, they've got to fill the theatre, otherwise it's coming off straight away. So I understand why they do it, but it's just hard if you're an up and coming actor and want to take it professionally and pursue that career. Getting your break without being on TV is very hard, I think.
Yeah. They say most of the best actors do start in theatre where they need their craft as such.
Yeah,
Am I correct in saying that? Or...
what's his name? Who played what's his name? Who was in the X-Men? Xavier. No. Well, Hugh Jackman, yeah, he started in musicals.
Yeah.
Who played
musicals?
Pardon?
Pretty much finished in a musical as well, hasn't he, Hugh Jackman?
Well, he has, yeah. He's gone back to him because it's his passion. But I saw him in Oklahoma at National Theatre before he was ever famous. You know, it was on the back of that, I think, that he got Wolverine. But what's his name?
Story where he pissed on Maureen Lipman or something.
No, I don't know.
On stage, he was dying for the toilet. I'm sure that's true.
Mark usually segues into something a lot more.
Mark's got an inside story on that, has he?
Yeah. I watched it. It was on Parkinson or something like that years ago.
Well, Maureen Lipman was in it. She was Aunt Ella in it. So, so she was in it. So there could be an element of truth in that. Yeah. But no, what's the bald guy called?
I know
Patrick Stewart.
Patrick Stewart, that's it. He started his acting career in Lincoln Theatre Royal, because he was my sister used to work in the box office, and he was filming in Bourne, and he came back to Lincoln, and he came in through the box office, and he wanted to have a look around the theatre, because he said that's where because Lincoln used to have a rep theatre where a lot of actors started their careers. And he started in rep at Lincoln Theatre, so he wanted to have a look around the theatre and see if much had changed. And I don't think much will have changed, even from when he was a boy, really. But you know, various actors started up, or a lot of actors start on the stage. Certainly the older generation, I would say.
Yeah. who TV roles? What sort have you done? Any sort of TV roles or shows?
Well,
or?
my biggest claim to fame is I was on the bill.
What, the old school Bill? I used to love the Bill.
I did. I was a sports hall attendant on the bill, which was good. It was a day's filming down in London. It's a sports centre, bizarrely. So yeah, I was on the bill.
In the 90s or something like that, was it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. All the stuff that I did for like TV and things was at the end of the 90s, from about 97, 98 to 2000. I stopped doing it in 2000 because I got fed up with travelling down to London all the time. That's the thing. You need to be where it's all happening, and where it's all happening is London and Manchester, really. So I got fed up with travelling down to London. But yeah, I did the bill. I did Playing the Field. Can you remember that about a female football team?
Yes, yeah.
Dad will.
I played a copper in that. I played a copper in a police car in that.
Isn't that a Kay Mellor play?
Kay Mellor, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think her daughter was in it, wasn't she?
Yes.
Can't remember her, but she was there the night we were filming, actually, because she was her character was a firewoman, I think, but she was there because it was a night shoot, and she was there filming. In fact, it was her that the stuntman was doubling. So yeah, she was there. I can't remember her name.
It's pretty cool. These sort of sets though, and experience that.
Say that again, sorry.
It must be pretty cool to be on those sets and experience.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I mean, there was a few things. I did a thing at the Waldorf Hotel as well, and called a film called Another Life, with about the last woman to be hanged in this country. That was good. That was really good. Quite a big, a lot of money thrown at it, and that was quite special. We had to be there really early in the morning.
Is that about Ruth Ellis?
Yeah.
Who'd have thought? Yeah, a joiner from Lincoln. Who'd have thought it, eh?
Yeah, indeed. Who would? Although you didn't really see me in it, if I'm honest, but I was there. I was definitely there.
Hey.
I did a few things. Alchemist. I did a Sun advert. I did a drama called Trust. I was a copper in that as well. So yeah, I did a few bits, but I just got fed up with driving down to London for auditions and things, and it was in the days before mobile phones and sat navs, really. So you'd be following an AA route finder to some industrial estate in the middle of Wimbledon. It was a nightmare. So I knocked that on the head. Having said that, it's something I might look into doing, in a few years' time when I'm near a retirement or whatever. Looking for bald-headed men with beards.
Happy days. Oh, fantastic, Lyndon. It's great.
That was brilliant, Lyndon. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's been great to have you on.
Yeah.
Well, I hope it hasn't been too boring.
No, it was amazing, mate.
It'll be great when hopefully the Kung Flu's flew over and everything's gone back to normal. We can kind of get you back on if you get into the production again and.
About Sweeney Todd.
Yeah, you get Sweeney.
Yeah, absolutely. If we get things moving again and start, rehearsing and everything, and Sweeney Todd looks like it's due to be on this November at the Theatre Royal for just under 2 weeks. So it'd be good to come and promote that, because I'm going to do my absolute best to make it a fantastic show, because it's a show that I personally love.
Yeah,
it's probably my favourite musical. So. Which is why I've agreed to do it, really, because I'm so passionate about it that I want to make it the best that it possibly can be. So,
we would absolutely love to have you back on here and talking about that, and hopefully we'll be back in the studio ourselves.
Yeah,
and then you can do it, and promote it and tell us.
Push it a bit ourselves. We'll definitely be there. I'd love to get out and see a production.
Yeah, good. Yeah. I think it would be quite a surprise to a lot of people, actually. Yeah. And it's a little bit well. You must have seen the Johnny Depp film. It's similar to that. It's pretty gory, but it's good. It's good. It's great.
I've never actually seen a Johnny Depp film. I've seen the Ray Winston version. He did a few years before.
Yeah.
He was
that one a musical though, was it?
I know it wasn't. I know. But,
It's the same story, but
close.
the musical, even the Johnny Depp film, isn't, in my opinion, it's got a lot missing because it's got some of the big choral pieces missing, which, in my view, are some of the best bits of the show. And also, I love Helena Bonham Carter, but her voice it's not quite my thing really. But
yeah.
But you know, I love the style of it. The style of it's great, and that's the kind of thing I want to go for. But yeah, it's worth a watch. The film, definitely.
Fantastic. Yeah, we're definitely looking forward to having you on again, mate.
We will.
Great. Yeah.
Great.
Amazing.
Cool.
Thank you.
As like ever, like and subscribe. Give us a share. Yeah. Yeah.
Like and subscribe. Is that what you say?
Subscribe. That's it.
Yes,
Yeah.
like and subscribe.
We've turned Mark into millennial.